In a surprise update that came to the Quest, many of which find unwelcome, the Navigator is back. If you don't know the Navigator, this was months and months ago. The new way that the Quest was going to run surprised people on the public test channel with a smeary gray interface that blocked out your vision of your mixed reality or your background around you, more similar to what we're used to on like iPads and tablets. And first pointed out to me probably over a week ago by one of our biggest channel supporters, somebody over here, who was very unhappy and unwelcome to see it back again. If you don't know about the Navigator, this has been actually a pretty hot topic, at least for Quest insiders, because it came out of nowhere. A new UI, some people got it and hated it, including Boz himself, who somehow didn't know this was coming to the Quest, and when he saw it, hated it.
You see like the first version of Navigator that came out, which I was super excited about functionally, and then at the very last minute, weirdly, I had not seen it before it went to PTC with the kind of gray, which really didn't look great. It certainly didn't screenshot well. And so you see us very quickly make a rev on that. As soon as we saw that, I was like, no, we got to make this better. And
it fell into the background, disappeared again a few updates later, and now suddenly has made a surprise return when people thought it was possibly dying forever. Mixed reviews everywhere, of course. Some people angry they got it. Some people liked it the second it came out. Others jealous they never got to try it, but it seems to be back and on headsets again. Does your headset have it? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like by this point in VR, we should just have a set way it is, or do the menus and UI still need improvement? That's one of Quest's biggest complaints from people, is that it is hard to navigate. It's hard to get on your head and get into a game. There's too many updates. What do you think? We told you a while back in the news about MMORPG Haven in the Mist, a massive multiplayer online RPG, a game with huge ambitions and now a very big Discord. And for a limited time this month in April, the alpha is out, allowing people to experience the entire gameplay loop, but only from April 8th to April 20th. Secrets, hidden challenges, and of course, all of the wildness that comes with anything in alpha, especially MMORPGs. And we can't say too much, but the team is keeping an eye on who jumps into the alpha and possibly making rewards later on in the final releases of the game. But all of the classic things you'd hope for in a VR designed full MMORPG, crafting, quests, gear, fishing, cooking, and you even team up with other people to take down the big world bosses. You can join the Discord totally free down below and keep up. If you do want to join the alpha, you do have to support the final game, but you will get a copy upon final release. But if you're one of the now like 6,000 people who's been waiting for this release, this is your chance to get in, help shape the future, support it, and do all that. So check out the links below, and thanks to them for sponsoring this week's news. If you've been following our news videos closely this year, this might kind of feel like the year of bad news in the VR space, but it's something that we are hoping is just a retuning of it, maybe back to more of the passion projects like we saw in the early days of VR, and less of the cash grabs or the clones. But for those out of the loop and wondering what's going on, one of VR's biggest uses for years now has been social VR that also includes games. From apps like VR Chat, Rec Room, Horizon Worlds, these are social VR platforms where people can come together, hang out, watch movies, play games, just chill, card games, all kinds of things. But now with Meta's pullback, no new Quest last year helping pump up the numbers of players entering the space, we've seen Rec Room now announce it's fully closing. A company once valued at $3.5 billion. A game that started in VR and even expanded outside to flat. And Rec Room at least finally responding with a reason why. Rec Room's developers saying that it just never became a sustainably profitable business. The costs always ended up overwhelming the revenue. They had multiple rounds of funding, making it briefly worth $3.5 billion. But some of the top creators in the space saying that it really wasn't to do with the actual game, but how the creators handled it. And that creator commenting on how this is a story of a lot of companies, but basically overhiring during the COVID boom, big promises, gambling on new players and other tech rather than focusing on the core experience and the existing players. If you followed Rec Room for years like I have, there were so many people that kept saying old Rec Room was better, and they kept spending money on getting more players in, adding it to mobile and console rather than making the core game better first. Some odd news to come out of it though, and this is from a GeekWire report, keep that in mind, but Snap supposedly is going to acquire select assets and even hire some of their staff. No idea what that means for actual Rec Room itself, or if they're going to try and do something with Snap different, but now with rumors going back and forth of Horizon Worlds being shut down on the VR side and then maybe not, really leaves a lot of people left with VR Chat, one of the OGs of the social VR space and now one of its possibly few survivors. Project Hail Mary has been one of the most successful movies so far of 2026. If you haven't seen it, you probably should, and especially before the VR game, or MR game, comes out. Late 2026, a Project Hail Mary tie-in game, described as an immersive mixed reality game, Journey Among the Stars, is being developed in collaboration with Andy Weir, the author of both The Martian and Project Hail Mary, but it's a completely new chapter in the story. You get to be the character that was played by Ryan Gosling, work with Rocky, try and fix the ship, and from the short teaser, what it looks like is it's mixed reality, but I'm not exactly sure why, because it seems like it's just setting the ship inside your own room. Maybe if you pair it just right with a window looking out at the stars at night, it could be really cool. But more good news whenever there's a big IP, big name coming, especially something that's really successful. Hopefully the hype will still be big by the time this game comes out later this year, though. Other big names entering the space, but in a different way, including Black Mirror and Cyberpunk 2077. If you've ever seen the show Black Mirror, you know there's tons of VR throughout it, usually in kind of a dystopian, creepy way, but still VR nonetheless. But both that and Cyberpunk 2027 are doing location-based VR experiences. Black Mirror, of course, sticking to its usual themes, forcing people to make tough decisions while in it, but Cyberpunk coming as a co-op location-based experience, specifically to zero latencies. We've been to zero latencies all over, and as I've talked to you about before, even if you have a VR headset at home, it is worth it to go out, experience some of what they do with other people, especially now you don't have to wear those backpack PCs anymore, because the way you get to experience it with each other, real world walking, especially if you have a friend who gets sick in VR, typically with the motion in that, the walking with it can fix that. But more big names, more big experiences. And if any of you are somehow going to the launch event for the Black Mirror one up in Montreal, let me know. One of the biggest names that's coming to Quest though, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Empire City, now has a release date and people are actually getting to play it in private sessions secretly, so we're starting to get some first impressions of it out. April 30th, this month, PCVR, Pico, MetaQuest 3, $25 from the same developers that made Escaping Wonderland, with the cartoon, almost cel-shaded style of animation. This looks like it could be a really good fit on Quest, as we've seen that other games that do that end up looking really good because you believe the environment rather than trying to think, oh, why doesn't this look realistic? But the game is described as a hack and slash and kick with parkour movement, and so far early reviews seem solid on it, saying it's frictionless, the co-op works really well, something you can spend dozens of hours with friends. Obviously a question, what will the length of the gameplay be? How replayable will it be? All that we'll know more at the end of the month. Personally, here on the channel, we got some big things going on this month here in the VR space. One, we are giving away another Quest 3. Two, a bunch of you stepped in and helped us get the comments, and it looks like we probably won that one. So we'll be giving away a Quest 3S as well. And then we are headed off to Hawaii this month for KawaiiCon. Demo some VR out there, hang out on the beach, enjoy some of Hawaii. But if you are in Honolulu or on Oahu and you want to hit me up, try to come to the con, hang out with me, let me know. On top of that, our wall of accessories that we have been sent and reviewed over time has gotten bigger and more out of control than ever. So we are starting up the planning steps of how to give a bunch of those away locally. I would love to be able to give them away nationally or even internationally, but the shipping costs just become extreme, especially right now with shipping on anything and gas and everything else. You know what's going on out there. But if you are in the Pacific Northwest or in the area or willing to drive maybe too far, I know some people came like 6 hours last time for our local meetup. There is a Discord link down below. There is links to those giveaways, everything else going on. Hit me up. I'm thinking probably in May, just because I don't currently have a trip, although I was just asked about going to Houston now then too. So maybe some of you in Houston, maybe I can pack some in a bag and bring some of them somewhere to go. I don't know. Give me your ideas. Let me know what you think. If you follow us on social media, especially over on Instagram where we post more of our travel stuff, you might already know why we go to all these different conventions and talk to people about VR and play VR headsets with them. But basically this company, VR Villa, the main guy, Jeff Bass, takes his own quests to cons all over the country. Started off just making custom chopsticks. And then once he got into VR, he loved it so much he wanted to share it, started bringing headsets to cons with him. It's turned into this huge thing. Sometimes they'll be demoing 100 quests in one spot, letting people to cons just play VR games for free. And still, even to date, a lot of people report it's their first time ever trying VR. Well, they partnered up with Jigsaw Night over in Atlanta, where Jigsaw Nationals happened, with 1,800 competitors, 3,000 people showing up. And of course, it was a natural fit to show people puzzling places if you haven't tried it. One of the top most pirated games on the Quest. Terrible, but a really relaxing puzzle game with 3D puzzles based on actual locations, and you put them together. Obviously, I believe in Jeff Baz's vision of showing more people VR, getting more people into VR to see that either it's not what they expected, it's way better than the cardboard one they tried 10 years ago and think that that's still what VR is, and just getting people to get to play for free. That's actually why we're headed to KawaiiCon this month and possibly Houston the next month and MomoCon, maybe some other places. But it was cool to see him showing up on Upload VR's main page and them talking talking about it all there. I'll leave a link to the article down below if you want to look into that more. If, like me, you miss the days of dedicated PCVR headsets and not having to deal with the link and the battery and the other stuff with Quest, PIMAX is still the top name in the industry for the most realistic sim racers, most high fidelity headsets, and we just got news that we are actually going to get our hands on their OLED version. We showed you before their ultra wide one, their Crystal before that, and other headsets, but basically now the OLED version is headed this way, which I am super excited to try. High definition, real blacks, pixels turning off, and it's a wild thing the way PIMAX makes their headsets now. They make it so you can swap out the front end, and that can change the screen, the fidelity, and what you're doing, so you don't have to keep constantly buying new headsets, especially at those premium prices. We'll report back to you once we get it and get you a full review and check that out. I'm also interested because maybe we can actually play some Resident Evil Requiem in it. Supposedly the PCVR versions now are super simple. Mr. Survivor made that new installer kit that you can basically put on there and it brings all of them up. He said the reaction was crazy. Put it out there and by the next morning it had like 150,000 downloads already. So there's a lot of people that still want Resident Evil in VR, whether or not they're actually going to make it from the start. And against all of the news of VR being dead, it's still making it into mainstream, but a lot of times through high-end training programs. Airbus is now using an H125 virtual reality simulator to help train people. The funny thing, this is actually what one of my good friends has been using one of our PIMAX headsets for. He's created a home system for flight sims to actually get experience towards getting his pilot's license in real life. Flown some real planes, but can log so many more hours thanks to VR, PIMAX, and then using an actual like yoke steering wheel setup like the planes he's gonna fly, rather than just, you know, a HOTAS, or especially a cheap HOTAS like the one I still have for my PlayStation. But this isn't news to anybody who's been with VR long enough. UPS has been using it for drivers even before VR was mainstream. Walmart's used it for training tons of other companies. There's a lot of great purposes for it still. The big problem though, across the board, most places just still cost. Over on the Ray-Ban Meta side of the VR sphere, they've announced a couple more designs of the Ray-Ban Metas with all-day comfort for prescription users, and now you can get your prescriptions made directly instead of having to get lenses aftermarket and add them in. Ray-Ban Meta Optics is what they're calling them. There are two styles, the Blazer and the Scriber. The Blazers come in a couple sizes, but the Scribers only come in one. The biggest thing I got excited about reading about these was that there's now overextension hinges that open 10 degrees wider. So unlike my current Gen 2s here that stop there and don't have any sort of hinge for that, they just stretch on your head, especially when you have a big head like mine. Like every time I go to put these on, they stab right here in my temples, and then I push and they expand as they go onto my head. And weirdly, even though they're pretty tight like that, they still slip down my nose. I really need to go have these adjusted at a store. I know that. But yeah, these new ones are focusing more on comfort, also with interchangeable nose pads, and they claim these can be shaped to a perfect fit. So if you're someone who's tried them, the previous Ray-Ban Metas, and thought these just weren't comfortable enough, these ones might actually do it for you. A bunch of different new styles and stuff. I'll leave a link in case you've been in the market and want to get some. Not cheap at $500, but for prescriptions, and the fact that even if you just buy Ray-Bans without them even being smart, the Ray-Ban name costs you a lot, it's a decent deal, I think, for some people who go for it. But ultimately, I got LASIK because of being in VR so much in the VR space, so I don't need prescription. I do feel like having a prescription does make it harder to use Meta Ray-Bans. Maybe our new guy Quinn will want to add some thoughts of his in here about that now that he's using full-time smart Meta Ray-Ban Gen 1s, but with prescription lenses.
The Meta Ray-Bans, my wire's peeking out. They are pretty good glasses. I enjoy them a lot. I love listening to music. They're prescription now, so I can wear them all the time. The one thing that sucks is having to charge them. The fact that they die so fast is really annoying, to be honest, because the Gen 2s are barely any better in my opinion. They have better camera quality. It has double the battery life. And if these could last longer, I wouldn't need another pair of glasses.
To market the glasses even further, Meta Ray-Bans are also getting nutrition tracking, WhatsApp summaries, display recording, and more. A bunch of new software features basically coming to the smart glasses, making you able to add a food log, whether you use a simple voice prompt or a quick photo. Then AI extracts key nutrition details from either your prompt or the photo. Kind of an interesting thought that if it like took a picture and learned over time, it could actually help you with your nutrition and health recording. WhatsApp message summaries. So if you've seen, this is something that's kind of already become a thing in like Gmail and stuff. Now, if you look in an email, AI will quickly kind of tell you, hey, here's what happened in all these emails. Here's where you're at. Not always perfectly accurate, but it's kind of looking to do the same thing. If you say, catch me up on my messages, it's going to give you a summary of your chats instead of trying to read each line by line. Or you can even ask questions like, what did someone suggest for dinner in my messages? Live translating, but without having to download the whole languages. And then if you did go get the Meta Ray-Ban displays, which we did do a first impressions on and share some thoughts, but never quite pulled the trigger on the $800 price tag. Now people can actually record what's happening inside the displays, especially for content, for sharing, for demos, and they're improving the navigation in any US city for on-foot navigation for those displays too. Finally, the handwriting handwriting that we wanted to demo in the displays is actually happening, and they're sending the Ray-Ban Metas and Oakleys to a bunch more countries now. A lot of people see these as the future and what VR brought to us, but there's tons of people very worried about privacy and cameras on glasses. And I will say personally, as someone who wears these mostly for music, traveling, stuff like that, I've started to have a lot more people in public be like, are those glasses? And even some apprehension around that because there is a camera on the outside of them. So it's starting to become a concern even for the owners who bought them before, who didn't think that was going to be an issue. People may not like that these are on your face around them. Microsoft Flight Simulator, already one of the top flight simulators for VR people, is now going to get a PSVR 2 update this month in April, and the gameplay has been revealed. Sim 5 update, and something that with the foveated rendering and so far what the PS5 has been able to pull off the PSVR 2, something I'm very interested in myself. I do have one of those cheap like $70 PS4 HOTAS sticks. I know that's like blasphemy to people from the sim world to use one of those, but I'm digging mine back out to check this out when it comes out. What are you looking forward to? What are you excited in the space that's coming this month, next month, or beyond? Let me know down in the comments down below, but thank you once again for being here with me, sticking with us for almost 7 years next month. We just hit 112,000 subscribers thanks to all of you out there, so thank you once again, and I'll see you in another reality.